The most common consideration when you are involuntarily terminating an employee, really throughout the United States, but certainly in New York as well, is whether there could be a claim raised under one of the various employment discrimination laws. The issue I raised before is that if you are a public employer, so a town, a county, a city, a school district, or a public authority operating in New York, then there are likely going to be statutory or other limitations on when and how you can impose discipline on at least some of your employees. In any case, it may be possible to have a written employment agreement, which could be with one individual employee, or a collective bargaining agreement, which normally would only arise if you have employees who are unionized, in which case you would negotiate with that union to set the terms and conditions of employment, often including the provisions surrounding disciplinary and termination rights and procedures that gets memorialized usually in a collective bargaining agreement. Then, separate and apart from formal agreements between employees and their employers, you may have company policies that create at least apparent limitations on the employer's right to discipline. In some cases, apparent limitations on the employee's right to resign as well. Finally, I note on here local laws. New York City currently has statutory or through local ordinance just cause protection for certain fast food workers. So some fast food workers within the confines of New York City can only be terminated from employment upon a showing of just cause. That is an exception right now, both for New York City and throughout New York State, and again, generally throughout the United States. However, New York City and New York State both have proposed legislation that would end employment at will, either throughout New York City or throughout New York State. There's no guarantee that legislation will pass, and it may be more likely that there will be some sort of limited scope. Again, New York City first did it with fast food workers. There may be other industries that will be addressed before there's some sort of widespread elimination of at-will employment. But there is legislation out there at both the state and New York City levels. And certainly if that legislation were to be enacted, especially as broadly as it's currently proposed, that would be huge news, and we would likely be doing a new webinar to tell you about that as quickly as possible.